Auburn Blitz, brought to you by Dane Sharp, attorney at law, helping injured people get the full benefit of their case. Call Dane today at 256-825-4631.
Welcome back to Sports Blitz Live, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and S&S. Discount Tire here in the Auburn Blitz segment of our program, brought to you by Dane Sharp, attorney at law. I want to welcome in Andy Graham, our Auburn Blitz co-host here and Sports Call co-host. Andy, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Well, Andy, let's dive into recruiting, because we've had a lot of calls off the air wanting to talk about this and where Auburn's going to be. And one thing we talked about on Sports Call today is where is Auburn as far as some of these top guys that are left out on the board and the 10 most wanted according to some of these searches and recruiting services out there. Obviously, the top two guys right now, I would say, are number one, Rashaan Evans. Auburn definitely wants to get him committed and signed on February the 5th. And then I think Braden Smith, an offensive lineman from Kansas, is a guy that's really emerged as somebody since Greg Robinson's leaving that they want to fill as a need position.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You know, Rashaan Evans narrowed his list down to Auburn, Alabama, and UCLA, eliminating Georgia, mainly, I think, because of Grantham leaving Georgia and going to Louisville. The word, you know, the feeling is that the in-state schools lead for Evans, and certainly him being an Auburn high school guy, he obviously knows Auburn's program extremely well, and visiting Alabama this weekend, visiting Auburn next weekend, it's going to come down to the wire with him. But as we talked about today, he made the statement that he didn't want to be one of these guys that flipped his commitment. That tells me he's leaning one way, but he wants to make absolutely 100% sure, and I like that. I appreciate that he wants to be a guy that wants to make up his mind once and for all before he comes out and commits to a program. And Braden Smith, you know, the number 2 offensive tackle prospect in the country, according to Scout.com. This is a guy that's kind of come onto the scene here as of late. He canceled a trip to Notre Dame. He's supposed to be in Auburn visiting. Pretty big visitor list this weekend. A lot of guys that are already committed. Auburn obviously wanting to shore up those commitments, and it'll be good to have him there with all these guys to, you know, build some relationships. And, you know, Auburn's only got one offensive lineman in this class. That was Xavier Dampier, and I think he was kind of a backup plan just in case Reese Dismukes decided to go pro. But since he's back, obviously that center position is filled. But Greg Robinson leaving early, it'd be really, really nice to have a 5-star offensive tackle come in as a freshman here.
No doubt about it, and came off a strong week playing in the Under Armour All-America game. And a couple more guys that we'll talk about. Andrew Williams is a defensive end from Georgia. He's the number 1 guy left on the board on the defensive tackle position or defensive line position for Auburn. He's got a lot of SEC and ACC schools that he's given a look to: Clemson, Ole Miss, South Carolina, LSU, some of those guys. But Auburn, Clemson, Ole Miss seem to be his top 3. This is the guy that Auburn's really going after hard. He is the number 1 or the top defensive line guy left on the board for Auburn. And then, of course, Treon Harris, who's a commitment to Florida State, 4-star commitment. Really didn't know if he was in the mix still or not. He's going to be making a visit now, so that could be interesting as well.
Yeah, Andrew Williams, you know, 6'4", 251 pounds, defensive end. We talked about this today on Sports Call. We talk about this every year. You can never have enough really quality, high-level defensive linemen on your team, and certainly Auburn has proved that this year with the rotation that they've had. You know, when you have 10 guys that you can rotate in and out, and it just keeps you fresh for the entire game, and it really, really pays dividends in the fourth quarter. The Florida State commitment quarterback, kind of surprising a little bit. It's kind of a name that came out of nowhere, but this is the kind of thing, you know, when you're a high level, you make it to the national title game. It creates a certain profile for your program, and obviously kids pay attention to that, and they you stop having to go out and pursue kids as much as kids start pursuing you. So I think you'll start seeing that more and more in the coming years.
Andy, let's shift out of recruiting, talk about the Auburn basketball team, and again, another close loss. Seems like a reoccurring story. Every time we talk this time of year, it seems like we're always talking about why or how Auburn doesn't get over the hump. We've had a lot of interesting discussion about Bruce Pearl so far in this program, and I just really, unless something miraculously changes in this program, in the SEC schedule, and I just don't see it happening, I don't see Tony Barbie being here next year.
It will be something, unforeseen until now. It's going to have to happen. You think about it, it's kind of humorous. I mean, Auburn has the two leading scorers in the SEC. In Casey Harrell and Chris Denson, averaging 19.3 and 19.1 points per game. Two leading scorers in the SEC on the same team, and yet Auburn's 0-2. And could easily be 2-0. They have played hard. The effort's there. Just not a lot of presence inside. And the way the Missouri game ended, not being able to just execute an inbound play with 2.9 seconds, only down 2. And if that would have been the first time that's ever happened, you might could say, well, it's just one of those things. It's not the first time. This is the second, third time that I can just think of off the top of my head that this has happened, where Auburn couldn't even get the ball in bounds. You get the ball in bounds, the kid throws up a three, you don't make it. Oh, well, that happens. But to not be able to just inbound the basketball is so frustrating and so mind-numbing that, I don't even know where to go with it. It's just, and it continues to happen over and over again. And like you said, I don't know what it'll take. Certainly, I won't have to go on a serious run here throughout the SEC. Now they go to Tennessee and then they come back and play Florida at home. Those are going to be two very tough games to win. So if Auburn starts out the season 0-4 in the SEC, things are not going to end well for Tony Barbie. As far as Bruce Pearl's concerned, I think there's a big difference. I know we've talked about Louisville and kind of Bobby Petrino and that kind of thing. I don't think Bruce Pearl fits into that category really at all. I'm not sure that Auburn I'm not sure that they would hire him, that Jay Jacobs would hire him, because Auburn has kind of created this standard that this is a line that we won't cross. We're going to have some kind of standard, unlike a Louisville or unlike some of these other schools who have gone after guys with less than stellar reputations. But maybe they will, maybe they won't. But either way, unless things change drastically, Auburn's probably going to be looking for a new coach.
Well, Andy, a lot of good stuff. Woulda, coulda, shoulda for Auburn basketball. Could be 10-3 right now, 2-0 in the conference instead, 8-5 and 0-2. A vast difference there. Appreciate you taking some time out. See you on Friday, okay?
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Thanks so much, Andy Graham with Auburn Blitz there. We're going to take a break. We come back. Randy will join me. We'll have Luke Robinson on a little bit later on for the Bama Blitz. We'll talk some Alabama recruiting, Alabama football. Stay tuned. More Sports Blitz Live presented by JR's and SNS Tire right after this.